It is early. I wanted to upload some new content for the channel. I haven't been able to do anything lately because of work, and I had to make some time. Unfortunately, that time exists somewhere before noon. I'm not, even certain that this part of the clock is real, but I wanted to get a video up here that kind of expressed my views on the soul and the afterlife a bit more, because the other day I ran into a pollster, or somebody who was doing an experiment for a psychology or sociology class, and they were asking questions about religion and the soul and the afterlife. And after talking to this person, it got me, to thinking a bit more about how I feel and how I think that we can't possibly test for an afterlife. I mean, maybe in the future we can see if something happens, but believing in an archaic belief of an afterlife, I think is completely, demeaning to the life that we have right now. It sort of devalues what we have here on Earth. And you've heard this argument before, probably many times. Atheists don't think that life is worth living because there's no, reward at the end of life. And I think that's completely counterintuitive. If you know that at the end of your life there's nothing more, and you accept that, you really feel like when you wake up every morning you have to do something that, leaves a legacy, leaves something behind of you that you can share with future generations. That's how you can live on. I mean, that's really the only testable way that you can. And the more that I thought about that, the more I felt that it gave me motivation when I woke up every morning. When I saw in my mind that if I wake up and I choose to pray and hope for something afterwards, and I don't do anything with my life, that it can completely ruin the experience that I have here. You only get one time around that we can be sure of. Nobody really knows what happens. And you got to make the best of it. That's how I feel. And this pollster, this person who was asking my opinion, thought that was bleak. And I just don't understand why. I guess a lot of people have been brainwashed into thinking that there is some sort of heaven afterwards. And I asked him, how are things going with the survey? He said a lot of people feel like, yeah, there's a heaven. Yeah, you'll be reunited with everybody who's died. And I'm like, whatever. So one of my favorite quotes, actually, and it was in, I'm working on Plato's Republic, and I need to finish a bunch of other philosophy books that I have on the shelf on my reading list. But I found this quote online, and it was by Socrates, or it was as recorded by Plato. And I think it was an Apology, correct me if I'm wrong, that Socrates said that he was unsure of what happened when you die, and it doesn't make sense to be afraid of what you don't know. And I think that really holds true today. I think that means a lot more than giving somebody a promise that may or may not be true, ultimately. And the other thing that I remembered is back when I was in high school, so quite a few years ago, I used to read Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. He's a Jonan Vasquez character. I think he was before Invader Zim. Again, it's way too freaking early for me to fact check this stuff, and I don't even think it really matters. It's pretty trivial, but I know that this is a true comic, is that there is one where Johnny goes up to heaven and he meets up with God, and God says, as he looks out on all the people in heaven, God says, these people have all the power in the world, but they just sit here in heaven content, knowing that they don't have to do anything with their power. So they live completely free of any kind of worry. They have all the power, but there is nothing for them to do. And of course, Johnny asks God, he's like, so now that I'm in heaven, I have all the powers, all these supernatural powers. And God says yes. And so Johnny runs around and starts blowing up people's heads with his mind. And there's a panel where there's a nun up in heaven, and she gets pissed off at Johnny and starts blowing up his head. And so heaven turns into chaos. And I think that's really, really good. It shines a light that if there is some sort of eternal reward, if you do have all the powers in the universe, if you become some sort of amazing being after you die, who's to say that something like that won't happen? Will it be heaven? Everybody has a different version of heaven. Johnny wants to just kill people, so he runs around killing people. And even though their heads blow up, they're fine in the next panel. But I don't know. Look it up. I'll see if I can find a link to Jonan Vasquez's website, or if there's a image of that particular comic online somewhere, and I'll link it below. But anyways, please share your thoughts. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. And I feel like if I do get convinced, I might change my position, but I think that the one that I have is probably the most sensible one. There's no way to know, and there's no reason to be afraid. But if you live your life in fear, if you live your life in a sort of habitual meditation or prayer that when you die something great will happen, that you'll lose out on the human experience we have now. So, thank you.